Hello, everyone. My name is Abhi, and welcome to today's podcast. Today, we have Dean with us from Melbourne, Australia. Without any further ado, let's just get into knowing what Dean is doing currently, who he is, and what his services include. Hey, Dean, how are you doing today?
I am doing very well, Abhi. Thanks for having me on the podcast, mate.
Great. So, I wanted to know about the overview of your background and how did you get into digital marketing? What led you to digital marketing?
So, before digital marketing, I was an engineer. And at the time, I was a little bit conflicted with what exactly I was doing. And long story short, I quit. I didn't want to be an engineer anymore. Once I had decided that's what I was going to do, I started doing things for friends and family as a way of making ends meet and trying to learn what I wanted to do. I really wanted to get into business, but I didn't really understand what or how to get into it. So I started with helping people get their businesses online. And back then, like a Google business profile didn't even exist. So I was showing people what they can do, how to get their businesses to show up when people Google them, creating basic websites and doing that sort of a thing. And eventually I would get recommendations. I would have somebody out of word of mouth would say, "Hey, my friend Dean has created this website. Maybe he can help you." And then I realized that quite a lot of people needed websites. At the same time, COVID hit and it was like a blessing in disguise because all of these people that were never present online at all of a sudden needed to be present online, needed a website. So it started snowballing from there. I started creating a bunch of websites. I learned all about SEO. And then I learned that, well, you need to drive traffic to these websites. And although there is some traffic coming from Google, most of the stuff, especially now, is content, specifically video content. So I bought myself a camera. I learned how to take photos. I learned how to shoot videos. I learned how to cut those videos into smaller chunks that people can post onto their Instagram profiles. And yeah, I just kept rolling with what I found worked and what people liked that I did and would recommend me on. And then I decided that, well, if I can do all this, why not create a business out of it? And that's basically where I am now. I mainly focus on video content, shooting, editing, and the actual content maximization of it, utilizing all that content to do things. And yeah, I really enjoyed working with YouTube as well, specifically. Still do websites, I still do a bit of stuff, but yeah, I'm a jack of all trades or a full stack marketer, if you will.
Yeah, great. So website and everything definitely comes at the back end because everyone needs it. But the main thing is you are doing what you love and people are benefiting out of that. Your clients love your work. Great. So how many years have you been working in digital marketing and what were the some key milestones in your career so far?
I have been working now as a digital marketer. It's been since 2020 ish. So that's almost 4 years at the end of this year. I think one of the coolest milestones that I have was I helped create a website for an old training facility that I used to work at. I used to do Taekwondo. It's a place called Holes Taekwondo. And I met up with my old master instructor after a few years. He didn't even recognize who I was. And then I helped him create that website. And that was a really cool feeling because it was a pretty large, substantial project. I'd never done something on this scale before, and it was relating back to what I'd done before there. Since then, I think something else that I'm pretty proud of was creating a YouTube channel, even though it still is maybe not something that's massive. I don't have 10,000 followers. I'm pretty happy that I've been able to build a base and been able to create now. I think I've got 25 videos or so up and learn how that whole process works because when you're just shooting for yourself, you've only got yourself to reflect and look at what you've done. And yeah, I'm pretty proud of that. And I'll get to 10K one day. Let's just say that.
All the best for that. And let's hope that the journey goes on and you be consistent in providing value to people. Well, what were the primary factors that influenced your decision to pursue a career in digital marketing?
The first thing that comes to my mind is the freedom aspect. Because it is digital marketing, primarily almost everything, unless I'm shooting a specific video for a client, I can do it anywhere. I can do it on my laptop. It doesn't matter where I am, what day of the week it is. As long as I have an internet connection, I'm able to do that, which is fantastic for me. There was something about working in the corporate world where I was super restricted and had to do things within X hours of the day or whatever it was that just didn't work with me. My family's been within business for a few years, sorry, for a long time, I should say, and now that I'm in business in the last few years, I really, really respect and really enjoy that freedom aspect. I felt really constrained in my previous job is I think what I'm trying to get out here. The freedom aspect has allowed me to not only be able to grow and learn in different ways, but it's allowed me to, hey, I want to take a holiday here. I can just go do that whenever I want. And I can still work if I'm there as well. It's not like I need to stop work. The freedom aspect is just by far the first, by far, I think the most important thing for me and the first thing that comes to mind. The second thing within this whole thing, and this might be a little bit different, I guess, if you're in the digital marketing sector and working at a place, but if you're in the business realm, you don't have a pay ceiling. There's no pay cap. You can get to and making as much money as you want as long as you keep going and keep striving towards it. So those two things really got me excited and really, really allowed me to dive in with a lot of motivation.
To me, there were two factors. One was remote capability, and the other one was freedom, as you suggested. So, coming on to the earning, when you want to earn money, you have to know some skills that are valuable to other people. So, talking about skills, to what extent have you combined your formal education with self taught methods and other things like informal education in honing your digital marketing skills?
I think the biggest transferable skill that I gained from coming from an engineer into this world, into the digital marketing space, is the ability to understand that projects take a long time and that the consistent effort will pay off. Most of the time within the digital marketing space, at least in what I'm doing now, let's say, for example, a website, you can't really create a complete website, a complete 10-page website in a week. It doesn't really work like that. It takes a month, 6 weeks to gather things, put them together, review them with the client, work out everything and connect it with Google, make sure SEO is all doing what it should be doing. And eventually you'll get to the end and you'll have this great product, great thing for a client, and it'll be worthwhile. Working as an engineer, most of the projects I worked on were longer than 6 weeks, sometimes up to 3 months or even longer than that. It's sometimes hard to just keep that motivation and keep that consistency going when, you don't see immediate results, especially in today's, most people don't have the attention to watch anything more than 30 seconds before they move on. That's an environment, the whole engineering environment, and perhaps even because I was working in the automotive engineering environment where things are quite large scale, that whole premise of having to work on something for a long time before you see results, that has been probably the biggest transferable skill. The second thing is probably the sort of analytical mindset and the analytical skills I developed. There's not anything really specific, but as an engineer, obviously you have to work with data and technical numbers and things like that. A lot of that is transferable as well, particularly when it comes to websites, SEO, looking at Google analytical data and all that sort of jazz. That sort of stuff has transferred over. Since becoming an engineer, though, there are a lot of things that I've had to learn outside of that formal education, which had nothing to do with engineering. Let's take video editing, for example. There's a lot of stuff that is technical within video editing, but there's a lot of stuff that isn't really. For example, color grading, color correction, all that sort of stuff. That's where you have to train your eyes. Or if you're doing some audio editing, you have to train your ears. If you're trying to balance things, equalize things, compress things, or what have you. None of that came from my engineering background. Maybe there was a little bits and pieces of understanding waveforms and all that sort of jazz, but all of that I learned later on. And that was basically all done with YouTube, looking up YouTube videos as tutorials and things like that. And yeah, sort of developing those skills after being an engineer was really cool, actually. And I think perhaps part of the reason why I found that quite fun, the sort of creative color correction, the audio and stuff like that, was because I used to play the old saxophone back in the day when I was in high school. And that sort of musical part of my brain felt like it was the same part of the brain where this creative sort of area, it felt like there was all the same part of my brain. So that historical learning from back in high school is something that I think has helped me to this day as well. So hope that answers the question. I've blended everything into what I've become now, but it's a blend from both the formal education and everything I've been able to research after that.
Yes, that was comprehensive. And talking about engineering, all of my friends that I know of, a lot of them from school are engineers. And I've seen so many people from engineering background doing various other things that are not related to engineering in any way. They kind of transfer those basic skills that they learn to other fields. And that's what I can think of when you talked about that transferable skills from engineering. I wanted to know from all these things, can you share some experiences that you had or methods that have contributed to your growth in digital marketing today?
Let me have a think. You know what? I don't know if I have something super specific, but I think the biggest thing that has helped me progress as quickly as I have in the digital marketing space was just diving in. So when I first jumped into digital marketing in the business world, I did like as much research as I could. I was watching YouTube videos and trying to understand everything as much as I could before I started. And you know what? That's something that I brought from the engineering side because when you're working on an engineering project, you want to get everything and all the constraints and everything at the start. So whatever you finish at the end is perfect and you don't need to change anything. What I realized within business and digital marketing and this sort of a space is that most of the time you can't predict exactly how it's going to happen. And most of the time, you're going to benefit much more by diving in straight away and learning as you go. I don't think faking it until you make it is the right way to think about things. There definitely has to be some research. There definitely has to be an analytical way of doing things. You can't just dive in arbitrarily. But I think the point at which you decide to just dive into a project and do whatever or accept a project that a client's ask you to do, even though you might not understand what you have to do exactly, the earlier you do that, the better it's going to be and the quicker you'll progress. That is how it works for me, whether or not that has to do with the pressure of having to do something within a time constraint you don't really understand. But I think taking action and then learning as you go is going to offer more experiences from you to learn on. And it's also going to give you confidence because once you get over that project, say you'd never done this SEO project on this website and then you just do it, now you have the confidence you can do it. And that's something else. That's another tool you have on your belt, another skill you have that you can quickly utilize and say, yep, I can do this. Yep, I can do this. I think that's probably going to be my answer for that one, my friend.
Quite interesting. One of the suggestions that I think is really common is to take action, which we usually don't as human beings. Just taking action makes you learn so much more than just thinking about it. Well, could you describe some of the clients you have worked with so far and the projects that stand out in terms of innovation and success?
Yeah, sure. The first one that comes to mind was a buddy of mine who was in the fitness industry and he had a pretty decent following on Instagram and, the equivalent Facebook profile page with his Instagram. I think he had like something like 6,000 followers or something like that, which is a decent amount. But he wasn't getting as many organic leads as he wanted. So the decision was, let's jump onto YouTube where we have the opportunity to film longer form content. So it's not like a 30-second snippet you'll see on Reels or TikTok, where he has an opportunity to go into more detail about what is going on and what's happening. And this guy was heading into a bodybuilding competition, so the style of videos that we shot were basically the journey of him going through those stages, what his nutrition was like, what his coaching was like, what his fitness routines were like, what his psychology was like, the emotions he went through. And he ended up with this, I think it was a 12-part series where he basically covered the entire thing. And so if somebody was in that realm and they wanted to understand what it was like, they could jump onto here and learn so much from it. And what we found was people started inboxing him. People started following him on his Instagram. We gained something like, I think it was 300 subscribers on his YouTube channel from zero, I should say, within those first 11 or so videos. From that point on, way more organic leads were flowing in. People were inboxing him. People were asking him, where can they sign up for coaching? So then I built him a website. I built him a landing page, a coaching application, and that's his business. That's what runs now. So I kind of built that whole thing for him. And the best part about this whole thing is he hasn't paid for ads once. Sure, he's spent the time to develop a pretty decent following. And I think most coaches are already doing that anyway. But from when he jumped on YouTube, there was a considerable change, not in only his subscribers on YouTube and Instagram, but just his flow of organic leads. He didn't have to do anything. And as we know, the YouTube algorithm keeps promoting your videos anyway. So he doesn't have to do anything there. It was a sort of set and forget. And yeah, it was a great experience for him and for me. I learned so much about shooting video from that experience.
Brilliant. Were there any more clients like these that you had?
They're actually within the same industry. I guess I should say as well is I started doing a lot of video work within the fitness industry when I bought my camera and started to getting into this area just because I had contacts. One of my other friends was in a similar situation and he expanded onto YouTube. He had a pre-existing channel. He started posting onto YouTube with those longer form content videos, utilize those videos to be chopped up and optimized for reels and TikToks. And then he also had a landing page where he could have people apply. So not only did he have the YouTube long form content, he also opted for having all the short form content cut out of that. I call it the content maximization. So he has the full suite. And it got to the point where he no longer could offer having in person personal training sessions. He is now exclusively online because he has too many leads to deal with. And that's meant that he's able to expand his business. He's been able to up his prices. So since working with him, he's essentially earning double the amount he was earning before, and he doesn't have to leave the house with less clients. So what I've learned out of just these two clients alone is that YouTube is such a powerful platform. And I think people who aren't posting on YouTube, not if you're just in the digital marketing space like myself or maybe like yourself, Abhi, just if you're a sort of a coach or somebody like that who has a great following, getting onto YouTube and posting something that's a little bit longer where people will sit there and listen to exactly what you're saying, man, it's just the results that I've seen. It's just there isn't another platform like that out there right now that you can really compare to. I think YouTube is king.
I have to agree to that. The long form content is for serious followers. And I think most of the business happens when you have authority with in front of serious followers. Well, looking back, are you satisfied with choosing this career path? And if at all you had to start over, what would you have done differently?
I think I would have concentrated a little bit more on what is in demand. When I first started this, it was more of because I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I just started to learn things that I knew. And although I got into websites because my friends and family needed it, I didn't really do much research into what's in demand right now. Specifically for where I am in Australia, what is in demand right now? Most of the time, it's pretty broad. Like we all know that short form video content, everyone wants it. Long form video content, people want to get on YouTube. Back then, if I knew that or if I paid more attention to that and started with that, I think I would have been able to grow a lot quicker. In saying that though, I don't think I necessarily have too many regrets. I think it's a really good idea that when you start things, especially if you're not a digital marketer as well, to dip your toes into to different places and get a broad understanding because it has benefited me knowing how to do websites, knowing how to take photos, knowing how to do videos. I can mesh that into one full stack person that I am, so I can serve the clients that I serve. But I think maybe not so much a regret, but I think if I was to start again, I would really pay more attention to offering skills that are in demand primarily, and then building the other skills that are maybe not so much in demand secondarily.
Great. So, when I listen to the skills in demand, I I have a take on it.
Sure.
The skills keep changing that are in demand, but if you want to, or if anyone by you, I mean, if anyone wants to be in the race for a longer period of time, they have to focus on skills that are evergreen. And sometimes we may choose skills that are evergreen compared to skills in demand. What I mean to say is sometimes those skills in demand are evergreen skills, like the skill that you have of shooting videos or creating websites. That I believe is an evergreen skill, because websites won't end for a long time in the future. Videos won't end for a long time in the future. Maybe the way you create websites or the way you create videos might change a little bit here and there, but the crux of it remains the same. So, my idea of choosing the skills now, after learning all of what I've learned in all these years, is same as you. The only thing that I would change in that would be, instead of saying in demand, I would say skills of the future, because what is in demand today is also going to be in demand in the future. So, Dean, what are the most challenging aspects of this career according to you, and how did you plan to tackle them in the past? By challenging aspects, I mean the cons of digital marketing.
Okay. So I think, yeah, the thing for me, and this might not necessarily be the same for you if you, for example, went to high school, left high school, and jumped into business straight away. For me, I did not do that. Obviously, I got my engineering degree and then I went to work as an engineer. I always had management above me giving direction, giving feedback. Here's what you need to do. Jumping into this space, into the digital marketing business realm, I found the I found it most difficult to keep myself on track doing the right things, doing the things that I needed to do. I found it difficult to keep myself motivated a lot of the time, especially at the start when you don't see so much money coming in. It's a little bit disheartening. But overall, it is that keeping myself accountable because I always had somebody keeping me accountable. How did I fix that? Having good friends like yourself, Abhi, getting myself a mentor. I realized how important that is. And the mentor that I have now, really awesome guy. I don't ask this guy super specific questions. So it's not like, what do you think about this paragraph on this website? It has nothing to do with that. It is more about, yes, I did my action items for this week. Yes, I'm up to here. Yes, my business strategy is moving forward. Yes, it is. That is probably the biggest investment or the best investment I've made outside of investing in myself in terms of skills. But I think keeping myself accountable was probably the most difficult thing for me to get over. Now, what do I do to keep myself accountable? Outside of driving myself by looking at results and money and keeping those things to keep me motivated, the simple things always work. Getting great sleep, exercise, getting outdoors, doing all that sort of stuff. And as of late, I've become much better at this, but reading books from people that are in your position who are essentially the top of the business. I'm not a CEO, but I am the business owner. I am the sort of the buck stops with me. So reading a lot from people that are in your position that you can relate to and bring those practices into your life. I think that's probably the best thing that I've done, especially recently. I've started reading a lot more, which I think you said you have as well, my friend.
Yeah, that's kind of a similarity. First of all, great clarity in your answer. And here is what I'm using. This is a Kindle that I recently bought. Now I have started reading more. I used to read before when I was in network marketing business. It was kind of a thing that you have to do, to read finance related books, to read networking books. And that was the first time that I got serious about reading books. Before that, I never liked the static text in a book. I wanted things that move, like in a television, like in a video, like on a computer screen or a phone screen. Back
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
days when we had those black and white phones on Nokia, I loved the small games in it. So I never liked to sit down and do things in a static way. The only thing that I ever liked to do in a static way was playing chess. Like, it's sitting down and keeping quiet and thinking about the next move. That's the only thing that I did consistently for a few years, but reading was not one of those activities. But now I have realized that reading changes your mindset, and money is not only about skills, it's also about mindset, because skills you only acquire when you have the mindset to acquire them. Otherwise, I have so many friends today who have so much potential to be skilled enough to earn good money, but they are not doing so because they lack mindset. And that's why reading is so important. I thank you for mentioning that in your answer. Well, now that we have talked all about that, what's more important for audience is what are your long-term and your immediate or short-term goals in digital marketing or your online business?
For me, right now, it is working on my current business model, which, funnily enough, has to do with YouTube and creating longer form content, chopping it down, and helping people grow and gain organic leads. That's sort of my bread and butter at the moment, and that's what I plan to do for the immediate future as a service based thing. But ultimately, I would love to release a course, and that's not just to do with the potential. I will openly admit that having a course and doing all that sort of stuff, if you can successfully build an audience and sell to them, you make a lot of money. That's not the primary driver for me. When I was younger, that old client I mentioned, I used to train Taekwondo and then I used to instruct Taekwondo. I used to be an instructor for six, no, 4 or 5 years. And in that time, I watched people I'll start at white belt, become yellow belt, blue belt, red belt, and just grow. And watching people grow, watching them develop, seeing them develop these skills, implement these skills, and then teach other people was possibly the most invigorating experience I had ever felt. I find a lot of happiness in that. I just, yeah, it's very fulfilling for me. And that's probably my longer term goal. I'd love to release a course probably about how to use a camera, how to use cameras, digital marketing, something to relate it to what I'm really enjoying doing now, and being able to teach an unlimited number of people. Because with the internet now, we can release a course, and it's the only restriction is by how many people click on it. So yeah, that's definitely what I love to do hopefully in the not too far distant future. Hopefully sooner than I think.
So all the best, Dean, for getting out your course soon, sooner
Thanks,
than
man.
expected. And well, I've seen many people like me who get the feeling of fulfillment when they are the most selfless versions of themselves. All right. Is there anything else today that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, actually, there's one thing that I didn't really mention that I think's very important, especially if you're starting off. Getting into a community, finding a community of people that are doing what you're doing. Why do you want to do this? Once you're in a community, you're going to be able to bounce ideas off other people. You're going to hear about skills that are important and up and coming. You're going to learn what people are doing right now to make money. And you're going to have a place where you can not only keep yourself accountable, but you have a place to share your stuff and get feedback off of it, which is absolutely invaluable at the start. I joined a community called Rich and Niche. You can find them at richandniche.com. That course that I originally bought, Full Stack Marketing Funnels, has now exploded into a bunch of, I can't even remember how many courses there are all compacted into this thing. It's essentially an online university now. That place really changed my life at that point because I was quite confused at the start and I didn't have places or people that I could get feedback from. And especially after coming out of that place where I had management with me all the time, I felt lost. Once I jumped into there, once I understood what I was really getting myself into, once I understood the skills I needed to work on, and once I had places where I could get feedback, everything just started progressing from there. Hey guys, I'm doing this XYZ project with a client. This is what I've done so far. What do you think? Within minutes, you get an answer from people all over the globe in one community. This is what I suggest. This is here, whatever, whatever. Tweak those things, send it to the client, bang, sick results. That was possibly the best investment I made out of everything since I started digital marketing. Not only was it a course that I bought into, but I bought into that community and I'm still there now and I still get lots of value from it. I think that is, yeah, no, I'm going to go out on a wing and say that is probably the best thing you can do if you're getting into this space. Investing in yourself, obviously, but investing into a community where you have all of that theory and stuff, as well as a place where you can apply and get feedback from.
Brilliant. I also got help from the community when I was in my first digital marketing job in when I was in Africa, Ghana. And I used to ask so many questions because I was the only person as a marketer in that company, and I had to do everything from YouTube videos to social media marketing to building the e-commerce website to selling the products online to building writing blogs for them, getting traffic and SEO. So much stuff. It was a great opportunity to learn, but at the same time, people who helped me learn was the community and Rich himself. Rich is a really approachable person. Unlike other communities, what I found was usually the teacher or the owner or the founder of the community are not approachable. You have to go through certain, what do I call that, certain managers or certain people in the checkposts. You have to cross them in order to reach the owner or the founder or the teacher or the coach. But in Rich and Niche community, you can any day directly approach Rich, say hi, and he will reply back to you. And that was the dream first interaction that I had with him for the first time before buying the course. And it's the same even today. After all these years, I can just reach out to him, share what I've achieved, and share my failures and get some lessons on the go, just like on the fly in the community and on Discord. Well, thank you, Dean, for your time today. If people want to find you online, where can they find you and reach out to you?
Luckily for me, I have a, pretty unique name, so if you type in Dean Velevski, 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 I can't even spell my last name. You're gonna find me. I'm on every platform there. That's all the same, at Dean Velevski, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all those places. You'll see me there.
All right. So I'll put the links down in the description if anyone wants to reach out to Dean over there. Thank you so much, Dean, for being on this episode today. I really appreciate it. And to you, everyone else, thank you so much for watching today's podcast episode. And we'll have more such guests in the future. If you have any requests for a particular topic, do let me know so that we call on more people to talk on that particular niche topic and they might be expert on that. Once again, thank you and see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Thanks, Abhi. Bye-bye.